White Squirrel here. So we just finished doing our dirty aluminum melt. We've seen the small yield compared to the amount of time and items we put into the crucible. So now I'm going to move on to the second worst type of aluminum to melt. I call it the mixed aluminum. These are pieces with other small metallic components inside of them, dowels, pins, screws, whatever, grease inside of the pieces that makes a dirty burn. So we still have to burn these outside. It creates a lot of slag and dross compared to clean burns. And some of the items we really need to cut up and shape and make fit in the large crucible. So I'm anxious to see what yield we're going to get out of all these pieces at the end of it. It's going to be better than the last burn, that's for sure.
Alright, so for melt batch number 2, we have a few more larger complex components. There's going to be lots of steel in these. We have some extruded aluminum. We have some grimy car components. So this one's going to have a much higher yield, but it's going to be just as smoky and dirty as the other one, with all the grime and grease and dirt and other metals. So I'm going to do this with the door wide open, burner outside, and we'll see how many bars we can get out of it. If we compare the slag on the right from our dirty aluminum and the slag on the left, which is our mixed aluminum, the yield was more than 3 times as much with the mixed aluminum, and we have less slag. And what we do have there is reusable. We can put that into crucible and get a much better yield out of it. So just another point as to why I prefer melting mixed aluminum than dirty aluminum. Well, here's our total yield from the mixed aluminum batch. If we compare the slag for the previous dirty aluminum batch and this one, you can really notice the difference. Not to mention the fact of the finish. This is one of the reasons why we call it dirty aluminum. You can really see the difference in quality. Usually I'll try to remelt stuff from cans and try to refine it a little bit more again with another melt before putting it on a project. But altogether, we have pretty much 15 pounds on the dot out of that. So it was 2 melts with the crucible. Took maybe about 40 minutes in total, and we even got some large shot here. I poured this close because really aluminum's pretty light, and this is going to be a lot more useful to measure out of my aluminum bronze than tiny little pebbles shot from a high distance. So here we have it. This will be enough for projects throughout the whole winter, I think. Well, that about sums up the mixed aluminum. That was the last of the easy stuff I could just throw in the crucible without disassembling. Next up are the components. Those I'm going to need to take a little more time, disassemble, separate everything, and there's even some possible rebuilds inside of the pile. So we'll do the ones I know aren't good, melt those up, separate the copper, and start plugging away at the other major components throughout the winter and seeing what kind of aluminum and copper parts I can salvage out of those. So let's keep melting.